of hypnosis. And it actually goes around to a time around the turn of the century is where it officially began. But then in the early 1930s and 1940s, one simple experience changed everything inside of this industry. And anecdotally, it goes back to a moment where here was a person who was on stage doing a performance. And then suddenly afterwards, as a stage hypnotist, there were doctors knocking on the door insisting, we want you to teach us medical hypnosis. And this man, who some of you may have guessed the name, his name was Dave Ellman, responded simply, I don't know what that is. Doctors responded, we do. And we just watched you hypnotize like 20 people in a matter of 90 seconds. We've learned a model of hypnosis which is rather long and drawn out, and we're already in the medical profession beginning to hear basically you've got 8 minutes in the room with a patient, make it count. And this became a major turning point in our history, where now, as others would try to use as a derogatory term, the lay hypnotist, the non-medical hypnotist, was now the expert at the front of the room teaching the medical staff. This is the legacy of Dave Ellman, along with many other advances, and I am crazy excited to be joined right now by Cheryl Ellman. Cheryl, so good to have you here with me.
It's so good to be here with you.
And
I
so
really
awesome
miss
that
you
our
being
technology is
closer.
working.
It's true. It's been technical challenges all the way. So it's so good to see you. I really miss having you 3.5 hours away. Now I have to drive a lot more to come see you.
For those that don't know, could you explain your relationship to Dave Ellman?
Yes, I married Dave's son, Larry Ellman, 20, going on 21 years ago. And I came to this profession when Shawn Michael Andrews had come to interview Larry. He's a number one Dave Ellman fan. Came to interview him about hypnosis, and he glued my hand to the table in my head, and I went, I want to do this. So I became a hypnotist, and then a trainer and an international speaker. So, and I we our goal was to get out there and spread the legacy of Dave Ellman and all his teachings.
I love it. I love it. And part of the timing of today, just to give everybody the reference they can check out here, I'll show on the screen there's a link, clickjason.com/Ellman. That will actually take you over here because there is an amazing event that's happening this month, January 2023. I'm sure if you're watching this after the event has passed, there'll be opportunities to participate with this as well. But Cheryl, I'll let you actually take the stage for a moment and explain exactly what is Evolving Hypnosis Together, the Dave Ellman Legacy Conference.
Absolutely. And I will say, I'm just looking at the clock, Jason. 7 days from now, 1 week from now, you will be up on the podium doing your talk.
I think it's
So
actually
I
at this
just
exact
wanted to
time that we're
let you
doing this
know.
right now.
Excuse me?
I think it's actually at this exact time that we're
It
doing
is.
this right now, too. Oh, let's do the standard thing, though, because fun fact, as someone who hosts a lot of events online myself, I have this shortcut on my computer that if I type 3 letters, it replaces it with, yes, the event will also include replays if you want to be a part of this. So, like, if someone can't do those specific days, there's an option where they actually are able to participate long after the fact, too, I'm sure. But I'll let you kind of take the stage as to what this event is all about.
Absolutely. Dave, when he was teaching medical hypnosis back in the 40s, he started in 49 and was physically going around teaching till 62. When the doctors came to him and said, I want you to teach us, and he said, I'm not a medical person. I don't know that. And so they said, you don't need to know medicine. You have what we need. You have rapidity. You have dependability. And we want to be able to have that tiny little bit of time to use hypnosis with our patients in the clinic. So he came to them and he came with a big medical dictionary. And through the years, they went ahead and started to have this collaboration in each of the classes. They would go ahead and each teach each other or come in and say, you know, I tried this on this patient and it really worked. And Dave would then pass it on to other classes to try it in their medical practice. So they were really lucky because they all had patients every day. So they really got to work with these methods and they kept evolving. So my husband Larry took the course 3 times in his teenage years and it kept evolving and changing. And Dave Ellman did not invent a lot of these things. He got it from reading from the 1800s, you know, Hippolyte Bernheim, you know, James Braid, all these different uh, uh, people that had worked with hypnosis, he learned and he adapted from it. So he was evolving hypnosis techniques together with the doctors. And that's what we all do when we go to conferences and we're really sharing and we collaborate. That's excellent. So that's why how this came about, you know, evolving hypnosis together because we share, we fill our toolboxes, we pull things out, we blend it with our own, and we go forth and new techniques evolve from it. So that's why we decided to call it Evolving Hypnosis Together, and you can be part of that evolution.
There's a part of the story that you just referenced there, which is the reading of, and there's, in the words of, I think Larry says this, if you ever have a hard time sleeping, read this book, and it's probably not the fault of the writer, it's the translations. It's Suggestive Therapeutics by Hippolyte Bernheim, which is the place where the writing was first there as to what we now call fractionation. This goes back to all the way to Mesmer. This goes back to Esdale, where they would hypnotize a person several times over the span of time. And those that may be familiar with the Dave Ellman induction, it's the fractionation, the eyes open, the eyes closed, as he referred to it as the 3 trips to Bernheim's office, and how to rapidly do that in a short span of time. So it's not about speeding up the process for the sake of speeding it up. It's about being more efficient. And one of the biggest legacies that I found from this model of work is that of working with intention, as well as exactly what you said, this collaborative way of going about the process, that it's not just, oh, that's that technique, and here's how many speakers total at this event, Cheryl?
I think I last counted 86.
86. Nice. But it's not everyone regurgitating the same core thing. It's here's this core set of ideas and what we've now let that inspire moving forward. So then walk us through, these 3 days of this event, which again, I'll throw the link up here for those that haven't been there yet. Click Jason. This is just a redirect, makes it easy to remember. Clickjason.com/Ellman. And I'm actually on the page right now. You've got keynotes with Karen Hand, who, sorry, Cheryl, is my favorite hypnotist. Don't tell the others. Allie Campbell, who is phenomenal. Steve G. Jones, Shelley Stockwell Nicholas. And then the list just keeps going. And again, not necessarily just here's 86 people talking about one specific methodology, yet how that methodology inspired so many other directions within this work. Can you talk about some of the things that you're looking forward to having shared at this event?
Absolutely. Um, well, first of all, you left out 2 of the keynote speakers that are 2 of my favorite
Oh, let me go
people,
back.
and that is Beryl Komar
Oh, there we go.
and Anlin. And so each one comes with totally different topics and totally different. You were a keynote last year. So my goal is to everybody but one person is doing a totally different talk than they did at the last conference. So, which was also 90 speakers. So that's great. And what I'm looking forward to, the panels are great. We're having panels on kids, medical, dental, my favorite technique, my niche, and business, which you're on, Jason. Uh, so and it kicks off on Friday. So what I'm looking forward to are all popping into all these different speakers. Um, I wish I had the schedule in front of me. I didn't think of it. And they're just all roaming around in my head. So
Well, here, actually, I'm on the
let me.
page at the moment, and just to scroll down, I'm not sure if we got my update in there because I think I effectively changed my topic last minute. Um, which one of the things I'll be sharing, and the principle is, what if Dave Ellman ran your marketing? That a big part of what I do, not just as a practitioner, but also on the business side of things, because what good are our methods of working with clients unless we actually have clients? Look at, for those that are familiar with it, the Dave Ellman induction. It's these specific steps, and like hurdles, you're only moving to the next one when you've logically and satisfied that step. And so often, many people in this industry just have it on their website of call this number to book a session, and there's other steps that need to be there first. And how there's so many things that come out of this legacy. And if you're interested in sports performance, there's Karen Bird talking about that. If you're, I just saw it, um, talking about the need or lack of need, or I'd call it the focused need for relaxation and hypnosis. Bob Burns is going to be talking on that. I've seen Stephanie Conkle actually talk about the glove analgesia and using it with waking hypnosis before. So everything from sports to topic pending, Kaz Riley, it's going to be something sexy. Literally. Uh, Irritable bowel syndrome, so medical situations, performance situations, there's applications of the legacy of his work that show up in so many other aspects of what we do.
It's true.
Are you going to be presenting?
I'm going to be doing a welcome along with at 10 o'clock right after you, actually. And So I didn't plan one for myself because every time I put in a square, a speaker came along and I went, "Ooh, that sounds good." So if there's an opening as we get there, I'm going to put myself in. Larry is going to be speaking. He still hasn't decided what he's speaking on. But so Larry and I will be doing a welcome and talking about the evolution of hypnosis together, and our theme, welcoming people in. Larry's going to be talking a little about what we did, how Dave and his course evolved, and did it together with the doctors. So,
That
um,
evolution, I think, is one of the biggest aspects of this. And if I can give a quick side plug, we are also streaming this over to Richard Nongard's ICPCH community. And
hey, Richard.
hey, everybody. And it's interesting, too, that, like in that organization, there's some organizations that are, you need to have this many hours to remain current. And this is a thing that Richard did that I find to be really respectful, which is that just the statement professional hypnotists have a passion for ongoing education. There's a time that I got audited by a major organization. It's like, prove your hours. You need to show us your 15. And I then showed them that year my 140. And they went, we're not going to do this to you again. Though it's this part of the Ellman story that's not really the prominent part, but it's that these doctors would come into these classes and they would then workshop these techniques. They would then go off to their patients, and then they would have this opportunity to then actually put it into work, to actually put it into use. And then they would gather back together at the next meeting, and it was this collaborative art form. It wasn't just the one guru at the front of the room leading everybody. It was, let's create this together. And that's honestly what I found to be one of the greatest benefits of events such as this. It's to hear different voices. He's on the screen here if I scroll up. The story is I heard Scott one time say that learn from people who disagree with each other. And I only modify that, not to claim it as my own, but to say learn from people who have different ways of reaching the same common shared goal. And that's one of the greatest benefits of how If you're brand new to hypnosis, it introduces you to a different series of voices. It helps you to become even more flexible working with your clients. If you're already trained in hypnosis and already actively seeing clients, you don't always need the entire thing to be revolutionary, because sometimes it's just those little moments, it's those little statements sometimes that create a massive impact. I had to do a search here. It's my story with Tom Nicoli. I heard Tom Nicoli, who's one of your speakers, how to avoid pain and struggle to achieve client and business success. I heard Tom one time in the middle of a process say to a client, you know what? You've been waiting most of your life to have the last word in this issue. You might as well let that moment be now, right? And then here's that moment in hypnotic regression where we're going to get the client speaking. And many people out there know the terror when you then use that technique and the client doesn't start talking. And it's Tom right here, who I heard say this one sentence, and he sometimes, hassles me for this. He goes, spent a whole weekend with me and you learn one sentence, right? But it's that one little pivot that created a massive impact in like so many of the sessions that I do, even if I'm not using that specific technique. Which again, we're talking about this Dave Ellman conference. There's the link. You can see it in the description attached to this as well. It's just a redirect to bring you there even faster. If you can be there live, awesome. If you can participate in some of the really cool interactive experiences, even better. If the timing doesn't quite fit, go ahead and sign up anyway, because this way you get access to everything. And Cheryl, this is new this year, that some of these interactive elements, can you elaborate on that? Because this is something that for years people would go, oh, but this is why the in-person event can do this, but online can't. And like, you figured it out to make it work. And I love this. Can you share some of these interactive moments?
Sure. A few things. Number one, we do allow people to back chat, preferably individually, but don't be too distracting to each other during the classes. So this is a Zoom live event, so it's like Hollywood Squares. When you're sitting in a room, at a conference, you're seeing the back of a lot of people's heads. So in a way, the Hollywood Square approach of the Zoom becomes more up close and personal. You get to watch people watching. You get to see when they're asking questions. You get that person and that face so much more. So if and when you ever bump into them, it's like you felt like you have been friends. You know that person. I know you from somewhere. So that's part of it. The interactive part that I love the best, because when we go to conferences, I go to classes, but at the same time, I love meeting and talking and networking and learning from each other in the hall, in the coffee shop, at the bar, wherever, outside, sitting in groups, the Alligator Bar in Vegas. So we had invented the Dave Ellman Internet Cafe. And that is where it's a fourth Zoom room that throughout the whole thing, it's open uh, earlier and stays open later after the conference for people to congregate. We do have it, I do believe, because the person, Evan, is going to be taking that one over. We'll have like meeting rooms set up that you can move yourself and see who's there, like going into the restaurant and going, oh, look, there's Jason and Sean. Let me go say hi to them. And you can go pop in that room and say hi. And then there's the main room where people are out talking too. So you can actually go and collaborate. Speakers can meet participants, participants can meet speakers. And I'm still working on the schedule, but there will be baristas that are a lot of the speakers, so that it gives you an opportunity to actually get close and personal and get to collaborate and really meet them. So I think that makes a real big difference. Don't you, Jason?
It's that interaction, and sometimes it's just that, again, that one little slightly different perspective on something, and something that you've heard me politely rant on before. And this is the origin, I think, of the hashtag We Help People. It's that sometimes you'll see this technique is good, that technique is bad. Oh, you should use this method. Oh, if you don't use this method, you're not going to get results. it's through events such as this, it's through that kind of interaction, we're starting to see the variety of something. The way that, here's, I highlighted this a moment ago, the talk that Stephanie Conkle, who is the founder, by the way, of this amazing hypnosis protocol called concobulism. That's what she should call it. Okay, profound somnambulism. But here's that hypnoanalgesia around the glove anesthesia methodology. Yet it was this aha that I had sitting in a workshop watching someone do a demo. And it was the side comment that person at the front of the room kept going, that's a pain relief technique. This is a pain relief technique. And this is a technique for pain relief. And person next to me go, it's a process about changing a feeling. And suddenly it's like, oh, wait, we can use that for fear. We can use that for anxiety. We can use that for stress. If you can, I'm channeling Sean Michael Andrews on this one, who says, if you could stick them to one thing, you could stick them to something else. If you can identify the feeling, it means you can also change the feeling. And I'm now looking at the screen going, where are the pain people? And I'm going, oh, wait, there's Bruce Eimer. There's Ron Esslinger. And it's part of this history, too, that so many of these methods, may go back to the origin in medical hypnosis, but they have applications far beyond that as well. I'd be curious to ask, is there, putting you on the spot, is there an anecdote from the hypnotherapy book or from all the recordings or things you've heard Larry talk about? Is there a story that comes to mind as to if you had to define the Ellman legacy in like one story? Does something pop out? In the category?
330 pages.
Yeah.
I guess.
Pretty good.
But I have
This
to
one.
say, he is known for the Dave Ellman induction. Now, about 30 pages out of 330. So when everybody thinks that Dave, is the Dave Ellman induction, and that's it. That's just the start of it. Everything else culminates around it. And the basis is that it is built on tests and convincers. It lets you know where the client is at. It lets the client know where they're at. Ooh, that was weird. Even though you're not sticking them to their head, but when they can't open their eyes, or when they lose the numbers, so there's those moments for them where they no longer have that feeling when they leave of, gee, was I hypnotized? So there's that. There So those tests and convincers really help as what the glue that holds together the Dave Ellman induction and makes it so reliable and gives the client confidence that something's happening, and it also gives the hypnotist themselves a lot of confidence. So that's one of the things. The Dave Ellman induction is very client centered. It's not you're picking up a script and you're going to follow this no matter who your client is. So I would say the way all of his techniques in that 330 pages centers around being client centered and having that confidence. So and there's so many good moments, and the one that I like to bring out is if the hypnotist doesn't believe in themselves, okay, even if they believe in the process, but they truly believe that something's not going to happen, guess what? It probably isn't going to happen. And so Dave Ellman was an avid smoker, and everybody comes, oh, Dave made this mistake. He was an avid smoker, and he smoked till the day he died. What happened was that he was using self hypnosis for himself to stop smoking. He didn't want to stop smoking, he had no inclination of doing it. So his self hypnosis was not very convincing to him. So he'd go back to his students and go, smoking is the one habit that hypnosis cannot help. So now he would have them work on them, and he's already planted the idea it's not going to work and it's not going to help. And so it failed. So right in the book, he said, smoking is the one habit that hypnosis will not help.
Isn't that also the
Well, how
moment where
many
I've heard
people
Larry
out
say
there?
that? I've heard Larry say
What?
that Dad put that in the book to get Mom off his case.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. It'll be interesting. Check in on Kaz Riley's talk this year because she is really on the unspoken Elman, the one that's not given that much credit, and that is Pauline Elman. So make sure you listen to her talk this year because she's got some interesting things to bring out on that.
You reminded me of the one thing that's like my biggest takeaway, which is that when you understand the rules of hypnotic suggestion, there's not a person in the world, provided they wish to work with you, that you cannot hypnotize. And I think that's one of those biggest lessons for someone who is, you know, brand new to this or even on that upward momentum to it. This idea that very often, that starts as the fear. What if I can't hypnotize my client? What if I can't hypnotize this person? And to understand there's a simple set of rules, there's a simple set of the process that combined with this may be a paraphrase now, if you follow my instructions, I know I can help you. If you don't follow my instructions, I don't know a thing in the world that will help you. And I love that because that sentence clearly has a lot to do with hypnosis, but has a lot to do with everything else that may be going on there too. Though, if I had to pick a story, it's piggybacking off of the hypnotic phenomenon, the story of the magic spot, where he would train the doctors to basically do, I would assume, like a glove anesthesia type thing and create this area where the kid would feel numb. And this way, when they got the shots, they wouldn't feel the pain. And the anecdote was, correct me on this, the parents were very upset that their children now had this magic spot where they didn't get hurt when they were getting whatever shots and procedures from the doctor. And the reason they were upset was very simple. It's because they wanted a magic spot too.
Correct.
It's the power of hypnotic phenomenon, and as soon as that foot is in the door and working with intention, working with proof, which we'll give a quick mention here once again, that we're talking about the Dave Ellman Legacy Conference, this year's theme, Evolving Hypnosis Together. If you haven't been there yet, claimed your spot, click jason.com/Ellman. That'll take you over to the page. I just made that to bring you there even faster. And then once you're there, look at the incredible lineup of keynotes, speakers from all around the world, carrying on this legacy and sharing their work in terms of what they do. If you can be there live, fantastic. If you need to engage with it in the replays, sign up anyway because there's going to be a ton of information. And this kind of mirrors part of my backstory as to how I got good at this, which was that now that I have a home office, I'm like, I need to find a source for this, which was I would have that drive from my home to my office, and I would take whatever audios, whatever videos, I wouldn't watch the video, but just listen to those. And in the info world, it's the mobile university of just surrounding yourself. If you find yourself ever in the place of going, oh, I've already learned that, I don't need that, let that be a wake-up call that it's that quest for ongoing education. It's that quest for let's continue to get better at this. And looking at a lot of the names here that I recognize, these are the people that I see at other events, whether it's in person, whether it's online, that are not just there speaking and sharing their own stuff. They're there because they want to learn too. Cheryl, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. I'm going to let you have the last word here, though. Any final thoughts to share with everyone out there?
Yes, there was another new thing we put in this year,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that is um, not only so if you can't be there and you still get your ticket and you'll still get all of the videos and all of the audios, which is good for your mobile university. How many times are you listening to the audios from other conferences and people are using going in? And if you look there and you're like missing part of it because you're not seeing what's going on. So here you will get the whole picture, so to speak. And the other difference that we've done this year is we're going to have anywhere between 12 to 18 events on a monthly basis, not each month, but over the course of the year, where a lot of the presenters are going to be doing presentations, and then we'll also have some fun events throughout the year. Um, on So you get 2 to 3 hour events another 12 to 18 times. And again, that will be in the Dave Ellman Internet Cafe. Last year, I tried to implement that, but I just never got it going. So this year, I'm already scheduling people in. So by the time the conference comes, there'll be a bunch of them scheduled, and all the people, this will be for people that have the presenters that have attended or paid for the event. Those are the people that will be invited to these. They'll sort of be like little closed sessions. That's the in crowd, with a cool crowd that comes monthly to play at the Elman Cafe.